to bite on one part of it or not bite on the part of it. So I figured we'd go to the mines and use our fake job certificates
Right.
and get
Sorry, guys,
jobs.
I'm going to have to reload it again because I cannot hear anything. Again,
I just
I'll be
suck
right
at
back.
life. That'd be a good time for us to have a group chat. But of course, John has to restart his computer. This is where we talk in giant. Okay. Yeah, I figure we just go down to the mines, get jobs at the mines, kill everything in the mines.
That seems totally reasonable.
Yeah, read books.
I like that the Dragonborn is the nerdy one in the family.
Does not surprise me. Dragons have totally been nerds. Where's the you gotta totally you play Skyrim or heard of Skyrim?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Skyrim dragon nerd. One of my favorite comics from that game. And I don't even play the game, I just know of this comic. In the chat.
Yeah, it's right there. Yeah.
Which one is this?
We weren't talking to you. We're talking in giant. You can't understand us.
Listen, I don't really appreciate it when you speak other languages in front of me like that.
Oh, go on. Hey.
You're not welcome in my house.
What?
You're not welcome in my house.
John had to restart his computer because he couldn't hear us again.
Sorry I've been struggling, but I feel like I have been learning from struggling, so that's good.
Yeah. Have you learned not to let your character players walk all over you with their family squabbling?
Really? I feel like that's okay.
That is fine. It's our role playing.
Yeah.
John, are you alive? Can you hear us? No, you can't hear us. Otherwise, you'd be responding by now.
Yeah.
Right.
So since you can't hear us, I will talk all sorts of bad things about you. This one time,
Can't hear
John,
a damn thing.
one time, John
Fuck.
got into a fight with a homeless man, and the homeless man won. It was over a piece of cheese, a small wedge.
His name was Big Rock?
His name was Big Rock. Big Rock also had a cast on his arm. It's what gave him the advantage over John.
Have you ever put Big Rock in a D&D campaign?
No. I don't draw from personal events of my life. That wouldn't be fantasy anymore. That should be reality.
So Big Rock and Spatula meet you on the road.
God. Spatula would be an interesting NPC. I think that'd be an interesting meeting in the forest if you met Spatch and Vamp and had to determine which one was good and which one was bad.
Oh, that would be fun.
Spatch often helps clean your small, drafty rock keep. Vamp often takes from your supply house. The continuing adventures of Spatch and Vamp. Spatch and Vamp.
Yeah, they get killed by the party.
Well, they totally would. Spatch and his trusty animal companion.
Problems. I don't know how much longer. I mean, it's already almost 10. I have to go to work tomorrow.
Okay. You hear what Margaret said?
What?
That she has work tomorrow, and we should maybe draw off to a close. We might be able to do like 1 or 2 more scenes, but we should wind things down. Sorry, I haven't really got any action.
If that's the case, we should just end. I mean, what more are we gonna do in an hour? You know.
Okay.
Sorry, 10 o'clock with you guys, right?
Yeah.
That's how time works. I have a general understanding of time.
More or less. I mean, once you account for the time dilation.
Well, the other day I totally didn't understand how time worked. I thought we were the hour ahead for some reason.
Yeah, that's okay.
Like,
I've done the same thing. Yeah, I think what I learned from this session is if you have to do something totally by the seat of the pants, you should just rip off a fixed plot line
Jesus fucking Christ.
from prior experience.
Your damn thing.
You back, Harden?
How do you look at him?
I don't know. I have no idea what's going on.
The left, yeah.
Trying to unmute him now. How do I unmute him? I muted you.
Did he mute himself? I think Jaeger has all the admin privileges.
Yeah, I was just looking. There's like a little triangle. Oh, you found it.
Sorry, guys. I have no idea what's going on.
Now he's unmuted.
Can you hear us?
You cannot hear us.
I can try restarting the computer, but it's going to take a while.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the only thing I can think of. Just, Oh. Okay. Well. Oh, right, I see. Yeah. Could be. Either way, it's up to you guys. I'm good to go for a while, if I can get this thing to work.
Yeah, since it's
I have work in the morning, but it's later than usual, so either way. But normally, I just grab some coffee, actually, because I'm usually thinking about bed by 9 o'clock anyway, and my body tries its best to shut me down by 11 o'clock, whether I like it or not. It's terrible. It's terrible having a regular schedule. But,
can you hear us right now?
Yeah, well. Since when was I a real person? No, I can't hear you guys at all. Right now I'm down to say restarting my computer and see if that helps. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, you guys might call him that. Alright.
Sure. I'm free this coming week. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. If you guys are. Oh yeah, no, it was fun. Sorry for throwing you under the bus.
I'm not.
It worked out though.
I do have a list.
Like the weird family dynamic we had going.
For today's session that we didn't use.
Oh yeah, no, I'm busy all weekend as well. This weekend and next weekend.
Your encounter with
booked.
Grublug Eep, the Great Coward.
Yeah, weeknights are easier to do generally.
Wait, hold up. I would like to do a talking about this session afterwards.
Okay. With me or with John?
With you, since you it sounds like you have some ideas.
All right. Well, okay. Second. Next week, I am off on Monday. I'm playing with my normal group. I could do not that. I could possibly do Wednesday next week.
Okay, I'd be down.
Until 9 o'clock.
That works. We go to bed at 10 o'clock.
5:30 till 9. Here is time. 5:30. Till 9.
Wednesday? Oh, yeah. Actually, that should work fine.
Cool. Let's
I'm
call it
thinking.
Wednesday.
Yeah, we can do that. Hell, even later if I can get this thing to keep working. Alrighty.
Corey's available.
Oh, that's right. You do weird things like that. Okay.
Yeah. That's my life.
Yeah.
All right.
That might be a terrible idea. Yeah, we should do that.
Adopt him. He'll be our new brother.
I feel it would give Rainey a little bit more protection. Because as it's going, I'm pretty sure he's going to end up dead, like, really soon if we don't do anything. I don't think he has a very long lifespan. Oh, that's true. Well, yeah. We don't know exactly what it does.
That's what I thought.
Oh my God, Jesse's up to this?
Yeah,
Well,
dude. They tortured him and ripped it
Excellent.
off, and then gave him a fully hug arm to keep him alive.
Oh,
You're lying. I asked if it was his arm. You said it was his arm. You were lying when you said
And, no, you
No,
said
he
that.
changed his mind.
And then I paused. I was like, no, you're right. That's totally not his arm.
oh, fuck me. I totally would have said more things.
Mucus and runes.
Ah. Damn it, Jesse. Damn it.
Yeah, once you said that, I was like, no, you're totally right. That's not his arm. There's something wrong there. Sorry. I did not communicate that
I don't
clearly.
know what that was, but you look very excited about it. Well, Jesse looked excited. Hmm.
Yeah, I heard it was mucusy. I just thought it was like, mucusy because it was weird and magical.
Yeah, I should have worked better to describe that.
Well, I
because-
mean, it's attached to him. I assume he owns it, so it is technically his. That's
Shut up,
it makes
John.
sense.
Your 9 cents of the law.
Although I suppose you could argue that it's actually the Gares.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm gonna debrief with you then.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, you said that, and I was like, no, you're right, that's a great idea. But I guess I did not go back to communicate that clearly enough.
It is hard to communicate over us all differing.
Alrighty. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna get going so you guys don't have to bother typing everything out. I'll see you guys next Wednesday, okay? Alright. Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's my bad then. Here, can you clear a spot just so we can put that so we can both be in frame?
I don't know where you're going.
Right there. How about that? It's like I planned to make that stand.
I mean, we could have made it easier for you, I think, today. I mean, the classic, you come across a person in chains in the road trope. It's fairly easy to bite on. Where have you broken out from? Who has kept you captured? How can we help you? Well, the first thing we did was none of those things.
You kind of bickered until he got unconscious in a puddle.
So I don't think there was any failure on your part this session. I think there was failure on our part to necessarily make it easy for you.
Which I think is okay. I think that's good practice, and I think that's a lesson in sometimes you got DM strong arm, and I didn't have it clearly enough. The thing is, like, it's not that I didn't want to strong arm. It's that I didn't have clear enough ideas to strong arm.
You could have had a group of people coming after him.
Yes.
And that would have forced us into
that would have been good. That would have been good, because that would have forced action.
Right.
And so maybe that's the lesson, is when things stagnate, force action in some way. Or my instinct was, like, if you're forced to fly by the seat of your pants, then you shouldn't. You should just rip off a plot line that you know and reframe it. Because then you'll have a structure, and you'll have something. You're
still going to have problems if we don't go along with it. If we don't know what plot line you're ripping off.
That's true. But at least you'll have something that you can, like, bring to, even if they won't go to it. What do you think, Jaeger?
There are a couple things, I think. One is, yes, using a predisposed plot line makes it easy. And yes, if your players are informed, it makes it easier even still. So, like, if you had said, by the way, guys, we're going to play the Fellowship of the Rings, and tonight I want you to make dwarves, and you're going into some trolls, and it's up to you to defeat the trolls. And then we start off our adventure by you saying we're in the forest in our cart and our mules, and all of a sudden we're attacked by trolls. It's going to be a different outcome than saying, starting from nothing and then having us be attacked by trolls. We might have a better idea of what, I guess, is expected out of us as character components, but that's also a weird way to run a game. It depends on what expectation you have for the game, I guess. If this was just kind of like a flying by the seat of our pants thing, I mean, what I was going to do, I have a couple, like, pre-canned adventures that I've run, like, 2 or 3 times,
That's smart.
I had Tori ran through one. Tori ran through the one that I was going to think about doing tonight, and I just was like, I got to find the adventure. I haven't had it on my computer for a little while. I'll just throw Jesse under the bus. It'll work out. It worked out.
Good practice. I mean, I need to be practicing more.
Mm-hmm.
The
other thing is, I felt like the dwarves were evil. They might or may not have been. The Moradin dwarves. And that could have been an opportunity for you to push that a little bit more. Like, maybe they are dirty and corrupt. And we went there. You could have, like, just kind of made that an opportunity for them to be empty and corrupt somehow, for us to stumble onto something there.
And I think that was my problem, is that they weren't evil in my mind. And so, like, the leads for you there would have just been tidbit. Like, I should have made them evil, because that would have given more to hook and latch onto.
Mm-hmm. Or just made them good and know where the evil was.
Yeah. I needed to come out with a hook earlier to get you guys on track. I mean, that was the big failing. But I was also fumbling to figure out what things were going to be.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Did you ever play? You played a little bit of Numenera.
Mm-hmm.
Once or twice that we played it. Mm-hmm. Numenera had a good mechanic called GM intrusions.
Yeah. Which
helps you kind of reframe the way you, like, make your contribution as a storyteller. Like,
describe me again.
GM intrusions are basically obstacles that you give experience points for. So, the player can refuse by buying out the GM intrusion with the experience points of their own. But usually it's just better to accept it, take the experience point you get, and move forward and defeat the obstacle, however it is. So, maybe you're doing some Indiana Jones stuff and you're, like, bypassing traps in a dungeon. And the GM intrusion says, oops, you missed. And you actually step on a pressure plate and fall, only barely catching yourself on the edge of the ledge. What do you do? And you could say, oh, actually, I spent 2 experience points, and before I fall, I jump to safety. Or you could say, I take your GM intrusion, and as I'm hanging there, I roll strength to get out of the hole. That's the other option. And so, the GM intrusion doesn't necessarily flow directly to D&D, but what it does kind of do is reframe the way you tell your story as a DM. It says, The characters can do whatever they want, and as DM, I can throw an obstacle at them whenever I want. It doesn't,
That's a smart way of looking at things. So, like, for example, when you went to get information from the Maraudin, like, temple folks, there should have been some obstruction or obstacle there.
Right.
That would have created a problem. Either the abbess should have been, like, actively trying to conceal information, or, like, an ally of the Gares and know who you are and be kind of hostile, or, like, your underlings is in their employ and is, like, trying to lead you on the wrong track. Mm-hmm. Something like that.
Right. And that's if you want a game of intrigue, But I mean, anything could have happened. You could have had guards show up. Hey, we saw you with a gnome in your cart. How did you see them? We had a gnome in our cart. How did we hit in our baskets? It doesn't matter. We saw them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bit more railroady, but it's what you're talking about, forcing action.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like first sessions also need more railroadiness. Like, it's kind of okay.
Yeah.
Because people are still feeling things out, and you want to get the train rolling.
Yeah. This is true. Oh. I think.
Good night, John.
Good night, Margaret. I think having good, strong NPCs that you can lean on a little bit is something that I've been learning about. And I've got a good cast of characters in my head for our next couple sessions. And I basically just lifted them from the story the play we just did, and I was just like, oh yeah, this cast of characters is very rich for the mining of personalities and stuff like that. So
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
And I always do the thing where I reverse their names so like they're not completely identifiable.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a list of I turned them into their character traits. I turned into like epithets. So I have Rumnov Larak, the captain. Grublug Eep, the great coward, the one with no scars. Warts and Murg, the conjoined servants, also known as Four Eyes. Rezweich, the captain's right hand. Urlor, the hanged. Namzar, the long-eyed devil. Fish, the damned. I don't know. Great list of
characters on hand when when you have time to prepare, or are you keeping those kind of characters in your like DM's folder for when you're improvising?
Well, I guess to me, I do a little bit of both, where it's like I really don't have a DM's folder, I guess. I just have a brain that's full of ideas. And if I need to flesh stuff out,
I externalize all my ideas.
Yeah. Well, so let's say that's what you do. So I internalize a lot of things, and I externalize things only when I have enough time to think about them. So like, I should have been thinking about where we're going next in our giant ice palace, like bunch over by now, right? Because it's been 2 or 3 weeks since we played.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of came up with some ideas right away for what I wanted the next encounter to be. And I've kind of changed that to these names now, or at least in some aspect. What I've done, what I was thinking about doing has changed, and I started to externalize the thoughts I'm having, because like I don't need to railroad you at this point. You're halfway into this giant castle, and you started. It's not your actions now have consequences. It's so much easier to come up with stuff when the players are interacting with the world, I think, than it is for me to go from 0 to 60. I mean, at the same time, like, let's say we don't take that gnome as a guest, because we're charity-driven people, and let's say we are evil, or we just don't care. Say we're apathetic, we just say, sorry, you can't get into our cart, and move on. You have to be ready for that as a DM, and then say, guards are chasing, and they say, "Hey, have you seen a gnome?" We might choose not to engage with that. We might say, "Sure, he's right over there. Bye," and keep going. And so you just have to keep, coming up with things that are, in my head, keep coming up with things that are visually interesting or plot interesting enough for players to just jump on it, or sit and talk about things to themselves and then jump on things they've said.
I think that's advice. No, I think that's really good advice. I think I understand what you're saying. I think I see how that's different from how my thought process has been working. Like, I feel like once the players abandon something, I abandon it as well. Whereas it sounds like your attitude is to elaborate and add a complication. And, that doesn't railroad the players into, oh, well, now you have to do this thing. But it does mean, like, okay, that decision you made, now there's another decision to make related that has deeper consequences.
Right. And that's ultimately, to me, like, it's about choice and or the illusion of choice. Like, you don't necessarily have to give players a choice that their actions are going to affect something. Like, you may say left door or right door. It doesn't matter what door they take, they're going to run into the dragon.
Right.
But players have to assume that if they had taken the other door, that something different would have happened. So illusion of choice is good. Actual choice is better. Actual choice with consequences to the actions is probably best.
Yeah.
Like, you can say, do you want Coke or Pepsi? But choosing one or the other in an adventure doesn't really help.
Yeah.
Like, since we had gone to the house of the Gare, nothing could have happened there. The House of Gare is up in arms because they've lost a prisoner of some sort. Why must we now? We are dealing with something. Their world is in conflict. I guess with one of the things I've learned a lot is, like, realizing that none of the players' actions happen in a vacuum, right? And I try to, like, side stories that are happening in the world that allow what they don't interact with to continue to grow. But that takes a lot of, I think, world building, or is actually world building in and of itself. So it's like, I know why there's a dragon in the giant's house right now. You guys don't know why there's a dragon in the giant's house.
Yeah.
And I guess when we created that prisoner coming down the street, you should have had a good idea of why there was a prisoner coming down the street. We didn't know why the prisoner was coming down the street. I gave you an idea that was pretty open-ended. Like, he was running from slave owners. He was running from, he's actually guilty, and we have to bring him back, or whatever. But as soon as you went with the idea, you should have had a general idea where he was coming from and who was going to be looking for him.
Yeah.
But it takes time.
Yeah, it's good. I don't know. I think I just need to practice more, and I think it's kind of fascinating. I do think I can get good at it. And I think it is. I mean, it's not like you have to have a crazy amount of depth, but like you were saying, like, there needs to be something happening off screen, or there needs to be a secondary action that backstops sort of what's superficially happening, so that either when your characters address or bypass something, that secondary action kind of has knock-on consequences.
Right. I mean, two countries at war in the other kingdom aren't going to be affected by our choices. There's still going to be a war tomorrow, and eventually that might come into our lives, but it doesn't have to.
Yeah.
I guess the other part of that, though, is that, one-shots are hard to run just because they're one-shots, and you have to kind of, like, condense and compact everything down into a single adventure in
Yeah.
a single like 3-hour frame. And
Right.
the adventure I have in my head that's like the one I've run a bunch of times doesn't come from a D&D game. It comes from some other world that I came across in a book, and I was like, wow, this is a really cool adventure. And it has like it has like one combat encounter at the very end. And so what makes it interesting is just that it's so bizarre and so outlandish to the players that they have to continue to investigate until they get to the very end, in which there doesn't have to be a combat encounter. I mean, it can be a social encounter. And if you side with the evil guy that's doing all the evil things, then you're just an evil schmuck. And but if you don't, there's just overwhelming evidence of evil, and it's hard for the players to necessarily to do anything or to turn away from it.
Yeah.
And the other thing I use sometimes is the DM's guide. They have while we were rolling up characters, if I really was at the mercy of creating a random adventure, they have tools in the DM's guide to roll up a random adventure.
Mm-hmm.
So I would and I've done this before in the past where I've rolled things up and I literally created a fairly memorable adventure where my PCs were helping a merchant transport barrels to the site of his wife's grave. The barrels were full of kidnapped orc orphans that the dwarf was going to sacrifice to his wife's funerary statue. And so the players get there, and the guy starts taking the barrels and opening them up to kill these orcs. And they're like, "Wait a second, you can't do that." And he's like, "No, these orcs are evil. They're just orcs. They're orphans. No one cares about these."
Wait a minute, you randomed this up.
I random it up, and I could tell you, I gotta find it, but I could tell you the yeah, so the villain's weakness was number 2 on page 96. The villain's power is broken if the death of its true love is avenged. So if they could somehow appease the statue, the guy's power is broken. The scheme was I think it was offer sacrifices to a deity. No. Here it was. It was one of the passion ones. Prove worthy of another person's love. Raise or restore a dead loved one because the wife was dead. And I just rolled a couple things up, and if some of it fits and some of it doesn't, it just became the adventure. You find monsters that are appropriately level and populate the wasteland with them.
Yeah, and I think that was a big part of my problem is I started thinking about a bigger scale. I kind of latched onto the Foggy Peninsula thing and thought about world building stuff. And I really should have just been thinking about immediate, give you a villain, give you an arc, get rolling.
Right, and so then there's the other, I guess there's this idea, the first adventure, I think that's starting in media res with a first adventure is good. So you've tracked down the villain to their final hideout, and now all you have to do is kick down the door and you'll get to Grognar the Invincible.
Yeah.
You know that Grognar has a magical item that allows him to fly around the room. So you've come prepared with ropes, but you're not quite sure if it'll be enough. Yeah.
Did you just make that up? That sounds like an awesome encounter.
Yeah, that was just made up.
I really want my players to come equipped with ropes to fight a dude who's flying around the room.
It's just bad planning. Imagine that conversation like that ends with, and that's exactly what would happen with a group of PCs. They'd just be sitting there like, well, let's get ropes. That's what we need. Fine, we'll just get fucking ropes. Grappling hooks too? No, we're getting ropes already. We don't need grappling hooks too.
I've got a net. That'll work.
And ultimately, it's like, just you don't know what to expect from your PCs, so giving them a very clear objective helps. My very clear objective was that I was giving charity to the poor people, and that I hated everybody that was beneath me. And you could have played on that too. I mean, there's definitely motivation in like having someone come and disrespect me. That would have been something that my character would completely hate it.
Yeah.
Huh?
Or disrespect charity too.
Right. Yeah,
like
exactly.
Come through and beat back the poor people at the tanneries that you were giving things to.
Sure, that would have pissed me off pretty hard. Dude, we're trying to like help these people out, huh? Give them a break. And so like that kind of motivation is, it's like, with Tori's first adventure for us, we could have totally disregarded. We kind of bit onto it because it was like, well, I guess this is what's happening here. We could have just kept drinking. But it's really hard to like for you as a player to look at someone being beaten in the street and say, does my hero really not care about that thing? And if it doesn't, your hero doesn't care, then your hero doesn't care, and you'll have to find a different motivation. The DM would have to find a different. But if your hero is a good hero, which we are, then your hero would have to intercede.
Yeah.
So providing opportunities of intercession when there's nothing better to do, like when you're looking for hooks to give, is good. You can also give hooks within hooks, or hooks within storylines that already happen. So like we go to the priest's place, and while we're there, we see a priest on the side of the house talking with a dwarf in hushed tones that's dressed in the cloak of the Thieves Guild. Well, as soon as we come up, he stops, he breaks away and looks to us and says, "Oh, how can I help you? Welcome to the Temple of Moradin."
Yeah.
What was that all about? We're here on other business right now, but we're going to come back to that.
Yeah.
Or what I like to do is the classic dead body with a note. While you're dungeon crawling, you find a dead body with a diary or a letter, that gives some extra plot point that you have to discover, or a map, and the players might look at that and be really excited, but not realize it's not for right now, it's for another adventure entirely. You're already presently motivated, but however, when you're done with this adventure, now you're also still motivated. And so finding that like rhythm of extra hooks, so your players never run out of things to do, is good. I have to play tomorrow and I have to play Monday. Tomorrow I have no idea what I'm doing. My players are slaves.
What are your players doing in that campaign? How long have you been playing?
We've only played, we haven't played in a while. But the first adventure was another, like, all I do is improvise adventures. So like I kind of have too much skill in it because I don't prepare anything. It's very extemporaneous. So when I do prepare things, I feel like doubly prepared because it's like, oh, I got a list of names. You guys don't even understand. I got names and personalities and places, and you guys are going to be running up and down this place. But when I'm not prepared, it's kind of like I have to think of things in terms of like video game or something like that. Or I just kind of like latch onto certain themes.
Like how so?
I mean, it's Dark Sun. So the adventure was that there was a Knoll sun and a mole who's like a half dwarf, half human, and I can't remember what the third one was. But as they're like drinking in a tavern, they hear cries of fire and beetles are attacking, and they go out and they're like fire beetles who are normally docile creatures are attacking the town, and they're attacking them. And they fight the fire beetles, and they find that they're just kind of crazy fire beetles, and they can't tell what's wrong and why they're attacking this town. And so they have to go to the mountain in the direction of which they're attacking from. And I make the adventuring to the mountain was they used like wind surfboards. And so like travel has to be interesting. That's why I like Crow Riders or your sled with dire wolves. I mean, travel should be interesting in a campaign of fantasy proportions. So I think that travel can be super boring if you're just on horses and you're going place to place and not really doing anything interesting. So, and when they got to the mountain, the last encounter they had was a simple cave. They went in. Inside the middle of the cave was a blue gem with a creature trapped inside, and they could tell it was really evil. And there was these like blue veins of rock coming from the blue gem in the middle of the room, and the blue gem was glowing, and the blue veins were coming out. And of course, in my head, I already planned what was going to happen, which was the monsters that I was about to unleash into the room were not the final objective. The final objective was to break off, and this is where the video game thinking comes in. The video game objective was to break all four of the veins going into the mountainside. And so they break one of them off, and all of a sudden one fire beetle comes into the room. And so they break off to go kill the fire beetle, and then come back to chip off the second vein. And then two fire beetles come in, and they go to fight the two fire beetles. And the next turn, three fire beetles come in, and then four fire beetles come in, and then five fire beetles come in. And so here they are now, like getting swarmed with fire beetles. And the fire beetles are like using half of their first turn to like crawl down the wall, and then the other half of the turn to finish their crawl, maybe attack if they're within range. And so all of these fire beetles are going in this counterclockwise direction around the room, and they're trying to fight all of them. There's just way too many fire beetles for them to be successful. And when they finally realize that there are way too many fire beetles for that to be the objective, they realize that they have to break the gem veins, and they have to, finish that off that way. And they finally, work together, break the veins in like this last-ditch effort, and just giving players objectives that are not necessarily defeat the bad guy are a good way to keep them guessing. And I think that framing things like video games is very helpful, as opposed to just like directly lifting from stories. Directly lifting from video games helps because it's already in a format that most people are familiar with. And so like one of the greatest articles I read, which I really don't do very often, but it's still a good theory in practice, is the 3-stage boss fight. There was someone who wrote an article on like creating boss encounters that had 3 stages, where you remember the first D&D campaign you played at IMSA when you came and played with me, Christy, Chris? Do you remember the 4E campaign we played?
The 4E campaign at IMSA?
Yeah, you came and visited.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
Play.
Sorry.
And
That's cool.
and I remember the first encounter that we had where I had given you like the notes, and you guys had to like track down your murdered friend, murderer.
No, I don't remember.
Okay, so like the first encounter you guys had, I was fairly certain you were here for this. I gave you guys all these little notes that said, "I need your urgent help. Please come immediately. It's time for you to repay your favor." And so all of you guys arrive into town to come see your buddy and help him out. But when you arrived, there was a funeral for your friend.
Yeah.
And that was our first encounter. And so like that provides Sorry, it looks like they're selling coffee and donuts in the Commons. I might go grab some of that. I can come back.
No.
But in any case, the last boss fight that you guys fought in that vein was a vampire creature that was like using crystal shards in a mine to help his power.
Mm-hmm.
And stage 1 was that you fought him in his regular form, and then stage 2 was he pulled all the crystals towards himself and then like healed inside of it, metamorphosized as you guys hit the rock, and then when you hit it enough, it finally exploded to stage 3, in which he was like giant crystal monster. And it had that kind of escalating boss fight nature to it. So
yeah, I guess that's really a matter of pacing, so that your players, like in a fight like that, they aren't just wailing on the same critter for ages.
Mm-hmm. So I guess providing areas of interest, so hooking your players with places to go to, providing obstacles to that place, and I guess providing interesting boss fights. All this comes from like years of like pulling things out of my ass and like looking up other techniques. Like one of them was this note card. Like the obstacle things pretty much comes from this note card technique that I used, which was, what is your player's objective?
Uh-huh.
And you'd write down the player's objective. And I did this for the prince that you guys ended up having to like take back to the kingdom. So I wrote down that your objective was return prince to kingdom. And then I wrote down 3 obstacles. Obstacle 1, forest is full of orcs. Obstacle 2, people may recognize the prince. Obstacle 3, there are still people looking for the prince that will kill you on sight.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, okay, so you have to return the prince to the kingdom, but there's these 3 things that'll. So when you ask, what's the way to the kingdom? Well, there is a forest, but it's patrolled by orcs. There's also a main trade road. However, you're worried that people might recognize the prince if you take him down that way. Also, that there's the people behind you that are chasing you down, so you can't just stay here. And it gives 2 at least options. Do we take the forest and risk battle, or do we take the trade road and have to disguise the prince?
Yeah.
So I like that method a lot. Write down the objective and then write down the obstacles.
That seems like it gives a good structure too for starting out.
Well, and then you can expand it too. You can expand the obstacles. You can expand objectives. You can kind of as this giant snowflake of expanding options. Like when you expand the obstacles, who leads the orcs? Why are the orcs in the forest in the first place? They're looking for a magical item that they're hired to find.
Yeah.
And there's a whole nother adventure.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Nice structure. I do think I'll have to have, especially because I'm so novice at this, I think I'll have to have a good strategy for structuring things. And something like that would give me the tools to like figure out what I need very quickly.
Yeah,
that's part of my problem is like I'm not identifying clearly what I need to present quickly. So I'm spending my time thinking about other things that are less important.
Give me a second if you want to keep talking, because I'm gonna go get some coffee and donuts.
I should probably head to sleep. I'm getting kind of tired.
Yeah, it's only late over there. So, all right. Yeah, I would just say find 2 or 3 tools that are useful to you. I can try to look for those specifically and find out where I got them.
Yeah, I mean,
I also
anything. I'm totally open to advice and random ideas. Try whatever.
I will inundate you with things because like Don John, you know how useful Don John is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like that was, I remember finding that so many years ago when I was like looking for things to do. And that's like the first stepping stone I remember finding and going like, wow, this is a really cool resource and I'm going to use this all the time. And then it became like, wow, that was a really cool resource, but it just does random things. It doesn't actually help me create a story, and these things do. So there's more tools that I can send your way.
Right.
I'll give you the DM's toolbox.
I like it. I do think we should play on Wednesday, and if you guys are up for suffering some of my novice DMing, I'll DM again on Wednesday and get some more practice. Because I do think it's just a matter of practice. Like,
sure. Okay. I don't mind. I might want to play. I mean, if you want to DM on Wednesday, there's also like if Tori's actually going to play, we have Tori's game, and if Tori's actually going to play, all four of us will be there. We can finish up some of the cross-train stuff.
Yeah,
I don't mind playing. I don't mind playing, like as opposed to DMing. So if you really want to DM on Wednesday, you can DM on Wednesday.
Well, the other thing we could do is like when we have all of us together, we could do the running games we have with you and Tori, and then when it's sort of a ragtag band where one of us is missing or something, I can DM first level stuff, low level stuff, and get some practice. And then
either way, I would just have something ready for Wednesday. I'll have something ready for Wednesday. I'm sure Tori has something ready for Wednesday, and if we have all the options, then we can just say this person gets to DM, and boom, there we go.
All right, cool.
All right, have a good night, brother.
You too. Take care.
Later.